this way. It's a terrible angle. But whatevs. Hey guys. I'm just pulling up my live stream on Instagram, so bear with me. Please. Oops. Okay. Hi guys on YouTube for tuning in. Thank you guys tuning in. I'm just pulling up my live stream on the other platforms. Bear with me, please. If you are tuning in already though, especially on YouTube, let me know your name and where you're watching from as I pull up the live stream over on Facebook. Hi, Naomi. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so Najava from North Carolina. Hi, the curvy Christian. What's your first name? I like to call you guys by your first name. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm so excited to be having this conversation today. I really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. I think this is going to be a really good conversation, and I think a lot of people are going to benefit from it. So I'm just going to give people a little more time to hop on. And as you're hopping on, please just drop your name in the comment section. Let me know where you're watching from. Regina, thank you for tuning in. Okay, give me 1 second over on Instagram. Let me just check something really quickly. Okay, cool. Can you guys on Instagram still hear me and see me? I didn't realize I can close out of the app and come back and it'll still be on. It looks like it's on my end, but I just want to make sure you guys are still good before I get started. Okay, cool. That's weird. I can't see myself for some reason, but if you guys can see me and hear me, that's all that matters. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and get started in a minute. I'm just trying to let a few other people join. But if you're just tuning in, please let me know your name and where you're watching from. And then we're going to go ahead and get started. So today's live stream is definitely going to be more of, hang on, I might have to close out Instagram because it looks like it's not functioning on my end. Hang on 1 second. I might have to close it out. If I close it out, just rejoin on the live stream. I'm gonna see what happens if I do this. Okay, so I just had to restart my stream on Instagram. Hi on Facebook, whoever is tuning in, please leave your name and let me know where you're watching from. And we're about to get started. Thank you guys for hopping back on. Cool. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me and see me. Ivy's Runway, thanks for tuning in. What's your first name? We have Regina here. We have Malua. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I'm sorry if I'm slaughtering your names. I'm sorry. Today we're going to be talking about the leap of faith. Hi, Mr. Cole. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to be talking about the leap of faith. So I'm really excited to chat about it. As you are joining, please feel free to leave your name in the comment section. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Really quickly, brief introduction. My name is Fatima. This is the Soul Beauty Chat. On my platforms, I'm streaming on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the moment. So on my platforms, we have authentic and vulnerable conversations about faith, soul, and beauty. And in today's video, we're going to be chatting about the leap of faith. So Ivana, thank you for sharing that and thank you for tuning in. So before I start sharing different tips and talking points and a little bit of my journey of my experiences with taking leaps of faith, I want to first open the floor for all of you that are tuning in. I'm assuming that if you're tuning in, it's because maybe you're in a season of taking a leap of faith, or maybe you just want some advice for in the future if you have to take that leap. So I want to know from you guys, from everyone that's watching, do you feel like you are in a season where you have to take a leap of faith, or you're considering taking a leap of faith? And leaps of faith can look like anything. They're different for every person, for every situation. But I want to know how many people in here feel like they are in a space or a season where they may have to take some type of leap of faith. Let me know in the comment section. I actually don't have my tea with me today, so I'm just drinking water. All right, I'm assuming the hearts on Instagram means that you guys are in the same space. Hi, Karen. Thank you. I actually just did my makeup. I never do my makeup for these live streams, but because I'm going somewhere afterwards, I was like, let me do my makeup today. So thank you for noticing. So today we're going to be talking about the leap of faith. So feel free to share as you're hopping on, share your experiences. Let me know what leaps of faith you're currently taking. Najava, I'm probably saying that so wrong. I'm sorry. It said, yes, I am in the season. I'm currently a college student and need advice as a college student. Thank you for sharing that. On Instagram or Facebook, wherever you're watching, let me know if you feel like you are in a season of taking a leap of faith as well. I definitely am. And in today's video, I'm actually going to be sharing a bit of some of my recent experiences with taking a leap of faith. And why I'm really passionate about even talking about this topic. It's so interesting because if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I'm currently offering a 6-week group coaching program called From Fear to Faith, right? And I just want to share a little bit of like how this idea came about, how this idea to host this 6-week program, the name, all of that. I want to talk a little bit about that because it's so crazy how the idea was what I like to call a God dream. It wasn't something that I had really sat and thought about and planned out. It was really like, I remember waking up in the middle of the night around like 3 o'clock in the morning. That seems to be the time when all of my great ideas come for some odd reason. So it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and I wake up and I get this idea for this program. And I feel this like really strong urge to start documenting all of the thoughts that are in my mind. So at first I was trying to do it on my phone. So I was just typing it out on my phone. And then I continued to feel this pull to just get up and start typing it. So I got out of bed, I opened my laptop and I was just like, okay, let me just get these thoughts out of my head and onto paper or digital paper. All right, so it's not just me who has these ideas at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I think that happens to a lot of creatives, but it really felt like it was something that God had literally like dropped into my mind. Like it was beyond me. It felt so big. It felt so scary. It felt like I had all of these doubts of like, well, why are you telling me to create this program? What's the purpose of it? What if no one is interested in it? What if people don't sign up for it? Like all these doubts and questions start popping into my mind. And the name From Fear to Faith had dropped into my spirit. And at first I was very hesitant because I was like, there's a few people that I follow on Instagram. And I remember seeing like similar phrases like popping up around Instagram. And I was just like, I don't want anyone to feel like I'm copying off of them or like it was all these doubts and all these questions that started coming into my mind that was distracting me from what I had originally heard God tell me, which was to create this 6-week group coaching program called From Fear to Faith. And at the time, I didn't know it was a 6-week coaching program, but I knew that it was a program and I knew it was going to be called From Fear to Faith. So I went with it. I started creating it, but the whole time I had these questions, I had these doubts, I had these concerns. And I almost had this moment of like, why am I qualified to teach on this topic? I was like, I don't necessarily feel like I'm qualified to teach on it. So I'm having this debate back and forth with God, kind of like, I hear you telling me to go forward with this program, but I feel like I don't have enough experience in this area to actually help people with this topic. And this was like last year, late last year when I had this idea. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to continue creating and pushing it out anyway. So I start moving forward with it. I decided that I wanted to work with a business coach to help me execute it because there's so many pieces that go into launching a program of this magnitude. So I was like, okay, let me hire someone that can really help me get focused and get clarity on the best way to do this. So I did that. And around like January, I would say, is when I got really serious about executing this thing. And this idea had been on my heart and in my spirit for like maybe since like November, December. So, and if you guys follow along on my YouTube channel, you know that around January is when I started making all of those videos, really showing you guys me doing different things where I was stepping out of my comfort zone. And I was documenting that process. And it was like, I felt like I wasn't qualified, but when God gave me that idea, he started to transform my life in a way where I had to take leaps of faith. I had to start living what it was that he planted in my heart so that I would be equipped to share it later on. And at the time, I didn't really realize that. I was just like, why do I feel all of a sudden this urge to kind of let go of these ideas that I've had about myself my whole life, about being introverted, about being shy, about being this mean person or being this reserved person or laid back or realistic, as I like to call it. It was like all of those feelings, all of those identities, I started to challenge. I started to challenge them and I started to confront them and I started to call them out and be like, well, why are you like this? Why do you operate in this way? Why do you interact with people in this way? Why do you choose to, shrink in certain situations? And through a lot of journaling, you guys know that I use prayer journaling a lot for myself and also with a lot of my clients. I use prayer journaling as a tool to really get clear and to help hear from God. So through prayer journaling and through working with a therapist, I really started to get to the root of what that was. I got to the root of what those feelings were that I was kind of telling myself, labeling myself as one thing to almost comfort myself from what I was really feeling. On the inside, I was feeling insecure. I was feeling doubtful. I was feeling afraid. So I was masking it with labels like, oh, I'm just introverted, or oh, I'm just laid back, oh, I'm just chill, I'm just this, I'm just that. But it was really connected to a fear of what will people think if I actually show up as myself and I'm being myself and I'm going to these networking events and all these cool opportunities and I'm really being myself. What will people think of me if I take my mask down? And I really had to confront that head on. And I feel like once I confronted that for me was a leap of faith. That for me, yes, rebuke those labels. But that for me was a leap of faith because it required me taking off a mask that I had been wearing for my entire life of this certain type of girl to the world. And I had to take that down and be like, no, that's actually not me. I actually am very silly. I'm very goofy. I'm very outgoing when I want to be. To some extent, I am an introvert because I get my energy by spending time alone. But I was using that as a label to be like, oh, I just don't like people because I'm introverted. It's like, no, sis, you're pretending like you don't like people because you're afraid of what they will actually think of you if you showed up as your full self in these situations. So I had to take a leap and remove those masks and those labels. And when I tell you the things that started happening because of that, and I shared bits and pieces of it on my YouTube channel. So if you missed it, I would definitely encourage you to go back and watch my Soul Beauty Journey playlist on my channel. But you can see the shift that started happening in my life. I started going to a lot of different events and really putting myself out there. And I started meeting all these really awesome people. I started getting invites to do things that I had never done before. I started getting opportunities left and right. Money was starting to come into my life. Like all this abundance was starting to come into my life because I had made a decision to take that leap, to take down that mask that I had been carrying around my whole life. And you guys saw some of the videos that I shared on my channel, but um, I got an opportunity to work with Dove because of it. With Dove, which is a huge, huge brand, got an opportunity to work with Dove at an empowerment event. Got an opportunity to speak on a panel at St. John University. Got an opportunity to do all this amazing stuff just started happening. And none of that happened until I shifted my mindset from that place of fear and really made a decision to start really walking in faith, and not just having faith, and not just having faith by having a relationship with God, but really having faith that if I take this leap and I let go of this mask and I let go of these stories that I'm telling myself, that on the other side of this, I have faith that God is going to reward my obedience. And I trusted that and I believed that. And it started happening so organically. And I was just so surprised. Like I was surprised, but I was also not surprised because I knew that I was getting in alignment with what God had been calling me to do all this time. And in addition to that, some of the other things that started happening was during that time, I felt all this turbulence in my spirit for probably about like almost a year, all this turbulence in my spirit to leave my job, leave my full-time job. And I don't talk a lot about what I do outside of my business, but I have a full-time job and it's with a company that I absolutely love, team I absolutely love, like literally the best job that I've had, hands down. But I started feeling this tug that it was time for me to leave. And do you know how scary that is to be in a position where you're at a job that you love, doing something that you truly enjoy, and you keep feeling this seed or this nudge to walk away from it? And I kept asking God during this season, I'm like, why are you kind of forcing me out of this situation? And it wasn't until I got to a point where I knew that if God had planted this seed in my heart, this nudge all of a sudden for me to leave this place that I felt so comfortable in, and I felt so content with, and I felt so just comfortable, just cozy, just stable. I felt grounded. But all of a sudden, there's all this turmoil building up. And I was afraid. I was so afraid. I was like, I can't leave. Why would I leave? That's stupid. What are people going to say if I tell them that I'm leaving this job that is just so amazing? Like, people are going to think that I'm nuts. And I don't even have, it wasn't even like God had given me a clear vision of what I was supposed to be doing. It was just like, you're not supposed to be here anymore. You know what I mean? And that's a scary place to be in, but it required me to activate another level of faith that I didn't even know I had inside of me. And ever since God planted this idea, this vision in my heart to create this group coaching program, I have literally been being stretched left and right to step out on faith. And I think that's all by design, because how can I teach something or share something with my clients that I'm not experiencing? And I'm so grateful for that journey for that reason, because I feel like it prepared me for this moment right here. It prepared me for this moment right here where I was able to take leaps of faith, and I can now articulate what it feels like to be in a season where you have to take a leap of faith and how to kind of navigate through that. So I want to share with you guys some practical tips of what you can look for if you feel like, you know, you're in a space that you may have to take a leap of faith. But first, I want to start with like just the very basic minimum. How do you even know that you're feeling this nudge to take this leap that is from God? How do you know that? And I would love for you guys to actually share in the comment section, like if you felt that way before, how did you know that this was something that God was telling you to do versus just something that you felt like maybe I should do this thing? Like, I would love to know what you guys think about that. And then of course, I'm going to share a tip for anyone that is in that situation based upon my experience. Let me just check the comments over on YouTube. Yay, Jasmine, I'm so happy you were able to catch a live. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you guys for the compliments on my hair. I appreciate it. So, Regina, the curvy Christian, says you can't stop thinking about it. That is a really good point that you just pointed out. The Brit Life, first time catching a live chat. Yay! Thanks for tuning in. If you're just tuning in, by the way, please feel free to drop your name in the comment section and let us know where you're watching from. I appreciate you for tuning in. We're kind of like in the middle right now, so you may have to go back and catch the beginning if you missed it. But thank you so much for tuning in and chatting with us today. So Regina also says, God keeps giving you the idea. So I actually want to talk about that a little bit because I agree 100%. Like that is one of the main ways that you can tell that something is from God. It's like, even if it doesn't make sense in a natural sense, like I just shared how I was feeling this urge to leave my job that I love, that I was comfortable at, that was literally dream job. And I'm feeling this constant urge to leave. And I knew that that was from God because it kept coming back. That feeling, that thought, that idea of leaving kept coming back. Even though it didn't make sense to me, I was like, why would I do that? That doesn't make sense. It kept coming back. No matter how much I tried to put it off, how much I tried to avoid it, how much I tried to escape it, deny it, whatever it was, it kept coming back. And it got to a point where it got so vivid and so right in my face, where certain things that made me feel all cozy and comfortable about the situation started to change. And it started to change my perspective, where it was like, okay, so maybe this isn't what you thought it was, or maybe this isn't for you anymore. And that's okay. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with the circumstance that God is telling you to walk away from. Sometimes it's just we're in a season where we have to be pushed to another level. And I'm a firm believer that that next level activates next level faith. If we're constantly in our comfort zone and we're constantly at a state where we're not being challenged, we're not being tested in our faith, how are we going to grow? How are we going to know that our faith is actually true faith if it's not being stretched? I can't remember the exact scripture right now, but this reminds me of, I think it was Paul who was talking about how the testing produces character, and character produces perseverance. If you guys know what scripture I'm talking about, please leave it in the comment section. So I know some of y'all are Bible scholars. I am not. I'm gonna be very clear about that. I'm not. But I do remember that, and that is what this feels like. This feels like when you're being forced to take a leap of faith, it's literally pushing you to a point where it's building character, it's building perseverance, it's building your faith, it's stretching your faith to another level. But had you not been put in that position where you felt this divine nudge from God and you decided to leap on that, you would never actually see what's on the other side of taking that leap. You would never actually experience what's on the other side of that leap of faith if you don't actually take it, if you don't take that step. So that is how you know that is from God. So if you feel like there's something in your life that you feel like, I feel like I'm having to take a leap, I'm feeling like I have to leave the situation or change the situation, it doesn't make sense, but it keeps coming back up. It may be something that is literally pushing you. It may be something that God is literally pushing you to do. So what does the leap of faith feel like and look like? We kind of talked about this a little bit, but the leap in itself, it typically doesn't make sense. Like it's something that is typically is so much bigger than you that you feel like, I don't know if I can do this alone. And like I shared in my journey, I talked about how I got a business coach because I didn't feel like I could do it alone. And I also started working with a therapist because all of these things were coming to the surface, and I felt overwhelmed by the idea of breaking down all these barriers that I had in my mind about myself through all of these labels. Like all these labels are around me, and now I have to break them down, and I have to grow, and I have to step out of my comfort zone. I knew that it had to be done, but I didn't feel like I was equipped to do it on my own. So I got help. And usually when you're in a season when you are having to take a leap of faith, you may have to get help in some capacity. You may have tried some of the stuff in the past that you feel like you're being called to do right now. You may have tried it. You may have Googled 1,000 different options. How do I do this? How do I change this? How do I make this transition? But you've never actually done it. And it may be because it's time for you to actually seek help from someone that can guide you along that process. Let me know if that's making sense. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in. I want to read some of the comments over on YouTube. Markayla says it makes absolutely no sense, no human sense. 100% agree. It typically does not make sense. You're just like, why? Why do you want me to do this? Elsie says, I notice God speaking because certain things will be repeated 2 to 3 times or more throughout the week. Karen, thank you for dropping that scripture in. The scripture that I was referencing was Romans chapter 5, verses 3 through 5. Thank you for sharing that. Jasmine says, God will always push you to your most uncomfortable situations, unemployment, homelessness, relationship failure, so you can call on him and he can direct your path. Absolutely. Karen also says, not only so, but we also glory in our suffering because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance produces character, character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame. Thank you for sharing that. That's the scripture that I was referencing. So yeah, that is what the leap of faith feels like. That's how you know that it's a leap that you're being pushed to from God. And I also just want to share a very practical way that you can get the courage to take a leap. I know there's some new people that join, but if you are tuning in and you feel like you're in a space where you are being pushed or pulled to take a leap of faith, please leave a comment in the comment section or just tap the screen if you're on Instagram and leave a heart so I can know. But I want to know how many people feel like they are in that space right now. And I want to share a very practical way that you can get the courage to take that leap. Super practical. Not going to say it's going to be easy, but it is very practical and something that you can implement right after this if you want to. Let me just check. Make sure there's no comments on Facebook. Okay, cool. Hi, Monique. Thank you for tuning in. So, a super practical way, a very, very practical way that you can get the courage to take the leap of faith is I'll share 2 ways actually. The first way is to seek God wholeheartedly. And when I say seek God wholeheartedly, I mean going into your conversations with God from a place of complete surrender, being so open to the idea that God is instructing you, God is pushing you, God has given you this divine idea and has given you this purpose and has given you this vision. Therefore, I'm going to be so open to whatever it is that God is pushing me to do. I'm not going to try to constrict it or contort it or make it into what I want it to be, make it into my vision. I'm going to accept this as much as I can as God's vision and how he wants me to execute it. So when I say wholeheartedly going to God about it, that's what I mean. Is when you go into, whether it's praying or meditating or journaling, however it is that you communicate with God, go into it with a humble spirit, willingly surrendering whatever that vision may look like in manifestation, because a lot of times it doesn't look the way we want it to look. And we try to stick our hand in and manipulate the situation so it can be what we want it to be. But if God is telling you to do something and you're like, that doesn't make sense, I don't know if that's something I could do, maybe I'll just do this instead. It's not going to work out if you do that instead. God is going to give you the grace for what he designed it to be, not for what you designed it to be. So you have to be willing to surrender yourself fully to what it is that he's instructing you to do, and don't try to change it. Don't go into it saying, okay, God, I'm going to do it, but like this. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to change this part of it. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to take a shortcut. Do it the way that God is instructing you to do it, and go into your time of seeking and hearing from God with that in your spirit already. Um, I think I said I had 2 things, but honestly, I don't remember what the second one was because I didn't write it down. It just kind of popped into my mind and it left that quickly. So forgive me. But that is what I wanted to share. If you're just tuning in, I shared a little bit about my personal story about how I am in a season and have been in a season of taking constant leaps of faith. I talked about how you can know that something that you're feeling called to do is actually from God. I talked about what the leap of faith looks and feels like. And I also shared how you can have the courage to take a leap of faith if you are in that season. So if you missed all of that, make sure you go back to the beginning and watch it once this live stream is over. And really quickly, before we wrap up, I want to make sure that I offer the program to you guys that I talked about at the beginning of this is the 6-week group coaching program called From Fear to Faith. This program literally was designed with you type of women in mind, the women that are always watching my videos. I'm not going to call you guys out, but the ones that are always watching my videos, always commenting, always sharing that, you feel like you have this idea, but you haven't gotten started with it yet, or you feel like you have an idea of what your purpose is, but you haven't taken action with it yet because of this reason or that reason. This program was created for that woman because, like I told you at the beginning of this idea literally popped into my spirit at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just like, why do you want me to create this? But I went forward with it anyway. And I'm trusting and believing that the person that this is for, it will resonate with them, it will connect with them, and it will bless them. So the program is 6 weeks. There's 4 more days to register. Registration closes on Monday. So if you haven't registered yet, this is kind of like your final days to do so. Doors are going to be closing very soon, and seating is limited. The course is for 6 weeks. Each week, we're going to be touching on a different topic that is basically going to allow you to break down, first acknowledge, and then break down those fears that are really stopping you from moving forward with that vision. So I'm pretty sure if you're here, if you're watching, if you follow me, you know that you have a purpose. You know that you have a purpose that's bigger than what you might be doing right now. Maybe right now you're just working at a job just to pay bills, just to get by. But there's this thing that's constantly in your mind that you know that you're supposed to be focusing on, that you really want to focus on, that really lights you up and gets you so excited, but you haven't started it yet. And with this program, each week, we're basically going to be identifying what those fears are that are holding you back, and then getting really clear. And you guys know that I'm super practical. I love practical advice. I don't like all the fluff. I don't like all the throwing scriptures out here and there. I think it's helpful. I think it serves a purpose. I think it's a place for it. But I feel like when it comes to coaching, we need practical tools and tips that we can use. So this program is very practical and is going to give you tips from a very biblical perspective of how you can really knock down those fears that are stopping you and get aligned with your purpose. There's also going to be one-on-one sessions with everyone that signs up. So you guys know I work as a coach one-on-one with people, and I also do the group coaching program. So everyone that signs up will get a 30-minute one-on-one session with me where we can talk specifically about what your goals are. So this is not going to be just general advice that everyone can kind of apply. It's going to be very specific to your situation. So that's what the one-on-one calls are for. And then also, so yeah, I said it's 6 weeks. There's going to be 3 1-hour coaching calls, 3 30-minute group coaching calls. There's going to be downloadable prayer journaling prompts. There's going to be a goal setting with God workbook, really getting clear on what your goals are, what you want to achieve, but from a perspective that is really going to allow you to get in tune with hearing God and understanding what God's desires are for you, and not just, this is what I want to do. I want to get this. I want to get here. But it's like, where's God in the mix of that? I think I firmly believe that as Christians, or as anyone that follows Christ and has a relationship with God, our desire should be to fulfill the vision that he has for us. But if we don't ever take time to learn what that vision is, then how can we make sure that we're fulfilling those desires? So it's important to me as a coach to make sure that I infuse goal setting with God as a principle. It's not just a cool, catchy name is literally goal setting with God, getting clear on how to set goals with God as the first priority. And then, like I said, there's also going to be 30-minute coaching calls with private coaching calls with everyone that signs up. And there's going to be guided meditations that you can download and listen to whenever you need to. So the first week, we're going to be covering acknowledgement, where we'll be pinpointing exactly what's been in the way of you achieving your goals. Also, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in. And at the end of the kind of overview, I'll answer questions about the program. Week 2 is going to be about compassion. So basically showing you how to navigate that space of stepping out on faith and stepping out and taking that bold leap of faith, and really how to go through that season with grace and with compassion towards yourself, because it's not an easy season to be in. It brings up a lot of emotions. It brings up a lot of challenges, and it causes you to question yourself and doubt yourself. So that's the second week. Week 3 is going to be all about acceptance, where we will be shifting your mindset and really preparing you to start to take action on your goals. Week 4 is going to be goal setting with God, part 1, where we're going to get clear on the at least 3 to 5 goals that you want to focus on in our time working together. Week 5 is going to be goal setting with God, part 2, where we'll start to break down your goals into a very actionable plan. And then week 6 is when we'll have the one-on-one coaching call. So that is pretty much what the program entails. Like I said before, this program is for a certain type of woman. So I want to share who this program is not for, because I don't think that is for everyone. And I want for the clients to sign up to really have felt called and led to this, but also to be prepared to invest and to do the work that's required to get through it, because 6 weeks is a long time. So this program is not for someone that wants me to solve all your problems for you. If you think that this program, or any program, honestly, is just like, I'm going to buy this, it's going to solve all my problems, I'm going to start my business idea or start my passion project, and things are just going to be peachy. If that's how you feel, this is not for you. This is for the person that is willing to show up, to do the work, to do the assignments, to join the group coaching calls, to engage, to ask questions, and also to be willing to face some tough realities about yourself that may come from taking that leap of faith. This program is not for the person who does not understand what it means to have a relationship with God. That doesn't mean that you have to be a Bible scholar, or that you have to, go to church 10 days a week. It doesn't mean that. It literally just means that you have to have a general understanding of what it means to have a relationship with God. So you pray on a regular basis. You talk to God on a regular basis. You have communication with God. This program is not for you if you are not committed to showing up for 6 weeks. We have 6 group coaching calls, where you will join via live video similar to this, or you can join on the phone, but you have to be willing to dedicate that time to it. And also you have to be willing to dedicate the time to doing the worksheets and listening to the meditations. If not, you're not going to see the maximum results. You have to really be willing to show up. This program also is not for you if you don't have a desire in glorifying God through your purpose. If you feel like, what you're trying to achieve, whether it be a business, a blog, a podcast, a YouTube channel, whatever it is that you feel called to execute, write a book, whatever it is. If you feel like this really doesn't have anything to do with God, this is just something that I want to do because I want to succeed and make money and be an entrepreneur, then this program is not for you, because that's not what this program is about. It's about really getting you closer to what God is desiring for you to do. Question number 1, is it online? Yes, it is an online program that you can sign up for on my website, SOULBEAUTYCHAT.com. The link is in my bio on Instagram and the description box on YouTube. And it is a 6-week program that's held online. So there's 6 coaching calls similar to this, where it's a private call, of course. It's not going to be streamed publicly, only for the people that sign up. So we'll have 3 of them that are 1 hour, where we'll be breaking down a different topic every week. And then The other 3 are more of Q&A style. So as you're going through the work and you're creating your goals and you're getting clearer on what God's vision is for you, we'll be discussing it in a very candid manner where you'll say like, okay, this is one of the goals that I've created and I'm feeling a little stuck around this process, or I'm feeling like I'm not 100% sure. And we would basically have a coaching session around that. It will just be in a group setting. So that's why the seating is limited, because it's going to be coaching, but it's going to be with other people. So it's going to be a very tight knit group of people, because it doesn't make sense to do like a huge program like that with tons of people. I mean, some people do it, but for me personally, I think I want to have more individual time with everyone that signs up. So if you guys have any questions, this is your chance to ask them. I will share some frequently asked questions about the program. What are the payment options? There's a one-time payment of $345, or there's 3 small payments of $120. What if you're not happy? If you're not happy, you can get a refund after the first coaching call. If you feel like it's something that doesn't align with what you were expecting, you can just email me and you'll get a refund immediately. What if you can't attend the live coaching calls? If you can't join one of the live calls, the recordings of the video and the audio will be sent to your email after the call, so you'll have access to it. When does the program start? The program starts on April 24th, which is next Tuesday. The first live stream is going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and all of the materials, all of the workbooks, the audios, the meditations, all of that will be sent to you 24 hours before we actually start. Another frequently asked question is, how can I be sure that I will get the help that I need in a group setting? So, like I shared before, every single person that signs up will also have the opportunity to have a one-on-one, just you and I, coaching call for 30 minutes where we talk specifically about your goals. Also, the program is limited to a small group of people. So even though it is in a group setting, the group is so small that we'll be able to address everyone's questions and concerns on the phone calls. So that's that question. And I think the last question is about, what if I don't have a relationship with God? Should I still sign up? I would say if you don't have a relationship with God, this probably isn't the best program to start with. I think that this is perfect for the person that has somewhat of a relationship with God, but they are a bit unclear of how to move forward in the ideas that God has given them. So I hope that answers any questions. I'm going to go through and read some of you guys' comments. I try not to read them while I'm talking because I will get sidetracked. So I'm not ignoring you guys, but I'm just trying to stay on my train of thought. So over on YouTube, Shelby says, I genuinely want to seek God wholeheartedly, and I genuinely want to progress in my walk of faith. But please tell me I'm not the only one who struggles with quiet time, with prayer and discipline. You definitely are not the only one. It is a challenge for sure, because our flesh naturally doesn't want to do those things. So you're not the only one at all. But I definitely feel like it's something that you have to be intentional about changing in order to really walk in your purpose. If you don't get to a place where you're committed to pushing past those times where you don't feel like you want to pray or have quiet time or be disciplined, you're not going to grow to a point where your faith is strong enough to really walk in your purpose and to walk by faith. You have to have that really strong bond with God. So questions over on Instagram. Hi, Chanel. She says, you're my life coach, LOL. I hope you are signing up for the program. I'm so excited to work with you guys. Why don't I have a Snapchat? I just, once Instagram came and kind of shut the game down, I was just like, I don't really feel like I need Snapchat anymore. So yeah, I just use Instagram. Curvy Christian says, what are the signs along the way that you have seen that God's vision is real, especially when you feel doubt? So for me, when I feel doubt, what I do is like for example, right? when I started at the beginning of this year, when I really felt challenged to kind of take all these leaps of faith to leave my job, to create this program, all this stuff where I was doubting left and right. Like, I don't want you guys to think that just because I'm sitting up here talking about it, that I never felt doubt. I felt a whole lot of doubt, like often. But what I did in those moments was I would pray to God and I would seek God and I would just ask God. I would say, God, if this is something that you want me to continue doing, give me a sign. Show me that I'm on the right track, because right now I'm not too sure. And I kid you not, the times that I can remember saying that wholeheartedly, it didn't always happen instantly, but a lot of times when I did that, something would happen. I would like get a client, or I would get invited to speak at a speaking engagement, or I would get invited to do something, or someone would reach out to me and say, like, send me like just a special email or a special note that reminded me that I was on the right track. And it was like those little whispers from God that kept me on track when I was starting to feel doubtful. So if you feel that way, I would encourage you to really go to God and just say, God, I'm feeling doubtful. Like, you can tell God that, you know, like, I don't know if you guys remember the story of David, but there was times where he was like running, he was out running because he was doing craziness, killing people's husbands and all this craziness. So now the people that were once supporting him are now chasing him. And he's like, God, he's out there, just out there living his life like, God, I don't know what's happening right now. I need you right now. He wasn't always this strong, confident believer. And his faith, he doubted. We all are going to doubt as Christians. It don't matter how long you've been a Christian. You're going to doubt about something in your walk, especially when you're taking a leap of faith. If you're not doubting, that leap is probably not from God. If you feel, oh, I got this, it's cool, like I can totally do this, it's probably not from God. Like, doubting is a part of the process when you're being pushed to take a leap of faith. Jasmine says, will there be another program after this one? I'm going to say yes, but I'm not 100% positive. The information will most likely be packaged in a way that if you don't want to participate in the live portion of it, you'll be able to purchase it and just do it on your own at a lower price point. But the actual live session program, I can't promise that it's going to be offered again, because I really believe in doing things that feel aligned and that feel right. So I really have to check in with God and see if that's something that he wants me to continue doing after I launch it this first time. So, God's Greater Love says, I'm doubting about nursing school. And I think that honestly, like I said before, everyone, every Christian, every believer, every person that has to take some type of leap of faith will definitely doubt at some point. You're going to doubt. It's just a part of it. But you have to be willing to seek God. And if you feel like God is pushing you past that, to push past it. Regina says, when did you know it was right to step out? Tips on disciplining yourself. So I knew that it was the right time for me to leave my job. It was the right time for me to create this program. It was the right time for me to challenge the way I viewed myself and all these labels that I had attached to myself. I knew that it was the right time to do those things because the idea of not doing them terrified me. It had gotten to a point where if I asked myself the question, and I posted this earlier on my Instagram, but I said, if a year from now, if nothing in my life changed, if I stayed exactly where I am, doing exactly what I'm doing, and I didn't take that leap of faith and move out of that place of fear and really start walking in faith, how would I feel a year from now if I looked up and I saw my life? And that scared me. The thought of that literally scared me to the point where I knew that I had to take action. I knew that I had to take action because if I did not take that leap of faith, I would not be walking in my purpose. I would not be fulfilling my purpose had I stayed in my comfort zone. And because I knew that, it shook me to a point where I was like, I have to do it. As uncomfortable as it's making me feel to think about leaving my job, as comfortable as it's making me feel to launch this group coaching program, I have to do it. It was to the point where I felt like I had to do it. I had no other option. Chanel says, how do you pick the right career when you are a Christian? That's a really good question. I think it goes back to what we talked about before, which is genuinely seeking God from a place, from a surrendered spirit. So, because we can, like, I don't know if you guys know this. If you've been following me for a while, you know, but I used to want to be a fashion designer. Like, that was my heart's desire, to be a fashion designer. And I was stuck on that. Like, you could not have told me 5, 6 years ago that I would be doing what I'm doing right now. I'd be like, what? A Christian? What? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I would never, I would be like, nope, I'm going to be a fashion designer. I'm going to be a stylist. I'm going to be at Fashion Week. And like, I did all of that stuff. I did it. And I was like, this is actually not for me. And God revealed that to me. But I think when it comes to your career, when it comes to your purpose, when it comes to whatever it is as a Christian, it's vital that you seek God with a surrendered heart, being willing to be open to wherever He leads you, and being willing to make mistakes and to know that you may not want to go where He's leading you right away. You may feel called to a certain path, but you're like, I don't want to do that. So you go off and you do your own thing. And maybe you have to go through a hard experience, a hard setback, a hard situation where you suddenly realize, dang, like this was a mistake, or dang, this actually is not my purpose. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And you have to know that God is going to reel you back in and lead you right back on the path you're supposed to be on. He's going to do it because He's persistent. God is persistent when He has a vision or purpose or something that you're supposed to fulfill. He's persistent. So it's not going to go away. So I think it's not necessarily about choosing the right career path. It's about just being obedient to where you feel led, to constantly follow that curiosity. Hi, Chrissy. Hi, Amor. Thanks for joining. Or Aviel. I always call you Amor. The Curvy Christian says, it's like you know you have something to give, but it requires faith. Yep. Chanel says, and are you scared of death? Am I personally scared of death? No, I'm not. This is weird that you asked that question, because I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I'm just like, I'm actually not afraid of death itself, but that could be a whole live stream on its own. But no, personally, I'm not afraid of death. Jasmine on YouTube says, yes, that's exactly how I feel. Terrified me to get out of my comfort zone. Oh yes. Okay. The question about how do you discipline yourself? So Israela, how do you discipline yourself? I discipline myself by, I don't really know if there's like a really deep answer on this. I just make a decision that what I'm disciplining myself for is important, and important enough that I'm willing to change my lifestyle for it. And a few examples of that is like, I wanted to get more disciplined. That was my word for 2018, was to become more disciplined. Discipline was my word. Like, I always have like a word or a theme for the year, and discipline was my word for the year. And at the beginning, actually at the end of last year, I was like, I want to be more disciplined. I mapped out what those areas were that I wanted to be more disciplined in. And I made a plan and I stuck to it. And I'll give you guys an example. One of the things that I started doing was waking up at 5:30 in the morning. I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people. And someone actually even asked me, like, why do you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning? Or what do you do at 5 o'clock in the morning? And I'll probably make a video about it. But the reason why I did it was because I wanted to get more discipline. So I knew that I had to change my lifestyle. Waking up at 5:30 in the morning requires me going to bed earlier. It requires me being intentional about what I'm doing when I wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I could wake up 5:30 in the morning and just roll back over and go back to sleep. But I decided to make a plan. And that plan was, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to spend time with God. I'm going to journal. I'm going to read my devotional. I'm going to study. I'm going to go to the gym. And that has become my morning routine. And it sounds intense, but I knew that I wanted to be more disciplined in my faith, in my fitness, and in my habits. So I decided to create the space to cultivate that experience. I had to shift my lifestyle to create that reality. So that's really all it is. Disciplining yourself is making a decision first and foremost. And then secondly is making a plan that's going to shift your reality. Jasmine says, I found that this scripture, Proverbs 10:4, helps with discipline and governs laziness in you. I think that's also a good place to start too, is if you really feel like you struggle with discipline, it's just starting with scriptures. I do that with everything, honestly. Like whatever area I find myself struggling in, I will go to the Bible and I will look up scriptures that relate to that area. So if it's comparison, if it's discipline, if it is sexual temptation, whatever it is, whatever you are struggling with, you can always go to the Bible first as kind of like a grounding point to get you focused, to get your mind right on that topic. And then you can start changing your actions. And something else you can do is pray to God, like literally pray to God about everything and ask God to help you to become more disciplined. And after you do that, you can't just sit back and be like, okay, magical wand, like, let's go ahead and make this discipline happen. It's like, now you gotta do the work, sis. Like, Jasmine says morning routines are very important. So important. So important. Chanel says, are you worried about how you're going to die? LOL, sorry about these insecurities. No, you're fine. These are such interesting questions. I don't worry about how I'm going to die, but I do think about it. Like I think about a lot, like, and it could be because I just watch a lot of crazy movies and nonsense, but I think about a lot, like, how is it going to happen? Which is kind of weird, but because I'm not necessarily afraid of dying in a sense, it's not really weird to me. It's just like normal. It's just a normal thought. It's like, I wonder how it's going to happen. I'm not in a rush to find out, but I do think about it sometimes. And I think more so, I think about like my legacy. I think about how weird but dope it's going to be when that does happen, that people will have these videos to be able to go back and watch and still be able to be blessed even though I'm not here anymore. I know that sounds really morbid. I don't mean to get all dark on y'all, but she asked the question, okay? And she also says that the less we read the Bible, the more we doubt. Totally agree. Totally agree. Bye, Monique. Thanks for tuning in. Karen says, waking up at 5:30 is a blessing. It's refreshing. It isn't easy, but it's worth it. I honestly have doubt that, I honestly haven't done that in a minute. I tend to wake up at 7, but I'm trying to get back at 5:30. Girl, it's not easy, but I feel like the habits that have come out of it because of it, I'm so for it. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share. We're getting close to 6 o'clock and I have somewhere to be in a few, so I'm going to wrap up soon, but just wanted to quickly remind for anyone that may have just hopped on that my 6-week group coaching program, From Fear to Faith, where we dive into a lot of the topics that we discussed today of how you can really acknowledge those fears that are holding you back from fulfilling your purpose and making excuses and being like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that thing one day, but I just haven't got around to it yet. We know who you are. I'm not going to call anybody out, but you know who you are. We know who you are. So if you feel like that's something that resonates with you, feel free to check out the program on my website. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video, whenever that is. Bye.